Okay, so I've just been informed that we're live. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this licensing panel. It's an application for a variation of premises license for Tops Pizza at 6 York Place, Brighton, Bravo November 1 for Golf Uniform. Before we get started, could I just ask the councillors on the panel amongst themselves to elect a chair for this hearing, please?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Nan.
And I'm happy to second that.
Councillor Nan, you are the chair for this hearing.
Thank you very much, Frankie. Hello, everybody. So this is an application for a premises license for Tops Pizza at 6 York Road Place, Brighton. Before we start, could I please ask, does anyone have any declaration of interests or lobbying? No? Brilliant. And also, can I ask, is anyone substituting for any other councillor? No, thank you. So there are no non-public items on this agenda, and therefore I won't be excluding the press or public for any item today. We are being webcast, so it's all in open session. So as I said, this is an application for a variation of premises license for Tops Pizza, 6 York Place, Brighton. Before we begin, I'm just going to go around my screen and ask people to introduce myself. So please, when I call your name, could you just let everyone else know who you are? So I'll start with Sarah.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm Sarah Cornell and I'm the licensing officer for this application today.
Thank you, Sarah. James?
James is webcasting. He can't talk, I'm afraid.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. Francis?
Yeah, good morning. Frankie Mitchell, Democratic Services, and I'm clerking this meeting.
Thank you, Frankie. Rebecca?
Yes, good morning. Rebecca Siddell, Legal Advisor to the panel.
Corinne?
Good morning, everybody. My name's Corinne Hardcastle. I'm one of the licensing officers. My colleague Emma Grant put in the representation on behalf of the licensing team, but can't be here today. So I'll be presenting her representation on her behalf.
Thank you, Corinne. Hannah?
Good morning. My name is Hannah Staplehurst and I'm here on behalf of Sussex Police. I am one of the Brighton licensing officers here. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. David?
Yes, good morning, Chair members. I'm David Dadds. I'm counsel and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I've got the applicant on another screen with me virtually, so I'm here for them today.
Thank you, David. Sarah?
Good morning, Sarah Booker-Lewis, local democracy reporter for Brighton and Hove, representing the majority of news media in the city.
Thank you, Sarah. Ivan?
Morning, everybody. Councillor Ivan Lyons, West Dean and Hove Park ward and member of the licensing committee.
And Alison?
Good morning, I'm Councillor Alison Thompson, Labour member for Labour councillor for Regency ward, and I'm a member of the licensing committee. Thank you.
And my name is Paul Nan and I'm a councillor for Wish. With that done, I'd just like to say that could you please ensure your microphone on is when you're speaking, and if possible, your camera as well. And please turn off your mic and your camera when you're not speaking, and briefly indicate. And if you want to get my attention, please just raise your hand using the raise hand icon on the chat software. So what I'll do now is I'll hand over to the licensing officer, who's going to introduce the application. I believe that's you, Sarah, isn't it?
That's right, yes.
Yeah,
Good morning. Thank you,
take it away,
Chair.
Sarah.
So this hearing is for a variation of a current licence for Tops Pizza, 6 York Place, Brighton. The applicant is proposing to remove alcohol sales from the existing licence, but to extend the current late night refreshment hours from midnight to 2 AM on a Friday and Saturday, and to remain as midnight for the rest of the week. The applicant's agent has since confirmed that the extension is for walk-in customers. I will leave it to the council to explain the application in more detail. Part M of the operating schedule is detailed at Appendix A from page 33, and a plan of the premises is attached at Appendix B, page 35 of the agenda, and the existing licence can be seen from page 37. 2 representations were received. They were received from Sussex Police and the Licensing Authority, and these representations had concerns relating to the prevention of crime and disorder and prevention of public nuisance, and these can be found in Appendix D from page 47. Sussex Police included proposed conditions they would want added to the operating schedule should the panel be minded to grant the licence. These conditions are also in Appendix C from page 51, and presumably these would replace the current conditions on the existing licence, which relate mainly to alcohol sales. Environmental Protection also agreed conditions with the applicant, which can be found at page 53. Both the application for this licence and representations to the application were made when the previous statement of licensing policy was in force, dated 2021, and therefore had regard to that policy. On the 5th of January of this year, a new 5-year statement of licensing policy came into force, and this policy forms the basis of the papers today and is what the panel must have regard to when reaching their decision on the application. The applicant's agent and counsel have been made aware of this change. This premises falls within the special stress area, and the special stress area is of concern to the licensing authority because of the relatively high levels of crime, disorder and nuisance experienced within it. For all new and varied applications for premises within the special stress area, operators will be expected to pay special attention when drawing up their operating schedules and to make positive proposals to ensure that their operation will not add to the problems faced in these areas. Appendix A of the policy sets out a list of potential measures the licensing authority considers may be appropriate. These may be more or less appropriate depending upon the style of operation applied for. On receipt of any application in the special stress area, where a relevant representation has been made, the licensing authority will scrutinise the application carefully and will look at the measures proposed in the operating schedules and compare them to the measures set out in Appendix A, licensing best practice measures. Where discretion has been engaged, those applications which fall short may be refused or conditions to comply with policy measures. These best practice measures can be found from page 21 of the agenda. A matrix approach to licensing decisions has been adopted. It provides a firm framework of what the licensing authority would like to see within its area and gives an indication of the likelihood or success or otherwise to investors and businesses making applications. The matrix states fast food premises in the special stress area may be granted until midnight with deliveries until 2 a.m. Each application will be considered on its own merits. However, the licensing authority will apply the matrix approach in all cases unless there are exceptional circumstances which justify a different approach. The licensing authority will determine exceptional circumstances on a case-by-case basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Do any members of the panel have any questions for Sarah about what they've just heard?
No.
Thank you, Ivan. Go ahead, Alison.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Sarah. I was just the word presumably always sort of raises a sort of worrying flag with me, and I just wanted to ask you. So presumably the conditions that relate to the sale of alcohol will. I mean, obviously the applicant is applying for a license without alcohol. They're removing that. Is that something that at what point do we start thrashing out that the removal of those conditions or the superseding of those conditions by others?
During this hearing's fine. The applicant didn't put anything in the application to say that they wanted those conditions removed. So that's why I've used the word presumably. So,
okay.
But yes, I'm sure that the council will confirm that throughout the hearing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, you're on mute. Councillor Nan, you're on mute.
And do you know what I was doing while I was on mute? I was telling someone they were on mute. David, go ahead.
Thank you. I have two short points, if I may, and one for including one for the lawyer. But firstly, Councillor Thompson, we obviously will be removing the alcohol and any conditions relating to that, so that's unequivocal. In relation to which policy we would use, I don't want to complicate it because I've done an analysis of both, and I don't think really it makes any difference. But from a legal point of view, because I remember doing the case in the High Court, the policy that should be considered is the policy at the time of the application made, not the policy that's in force thereafter. And I think you'll find that in guidance at 1.6 of the statutory guidance. I dealt with a case with Philip Colvin in the High Court many years ago that established that it's the policy at the time of the application made and not the time when a decision is being made. But I don't think I think it's somewhat academic. I've had a look, and I think it's not either here or there. So, but I think I should mention it just in case. It's not going to be a point that I will raise any more than that, but just to flag it up, if I may.
Thank you for flagging that up, David. Appreciated. Go ahead, Alison.
I mean, that's an interesting point, and I wonder if Rebecca could come in on that, because this is my second panel this week, and obviously we are now going by the new policy that came into force on Monday. So,
through you, Chair, it was my understanding that it made sense for the new policy to apply, but I have to confess I wasn't aware of the case, and in this particular, because I understand that on an appeal, for instance, the new policy would have to apply in the magistrates' court. You're saying not as well, right?
Thank you, Rebecca. David, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, no, unfortunately not. I can dig out the case, but it was such a long time ago. But the guidance at 1.6,
I can see that.
says, So in essence, it's not like planning. Licensing is somewhat different because its own statutory scheme, but it's the policy at the time and the guidance at the time that you make the application. But as I say, I think it has no bearing on here, but it might be something that you might want to just consider for the next, because you will only have a few applications that have that transition.
Does that, because the 1.6 relates to the guidance, not necessarily an actual policy document. So are you saying it would relate to the licensing? Because
in my opinion, it would, but obviously you can get two lawyers in a room and have different opinions.
Well,
but that's certainly my opinion and my understanding since we did that case many years ago.
Did the case relate to policy or the statutory guidance?
A policy,
right?
And out of that case came this revision from the Secretary of State office, because that followed immediately after the High Court case.
Yes, but it does say it does only relate to the guidance and not policy. I think I take that on board, and I think we'll have to look at this outside this hearing. But in fact, in relation to this hearing, the policy considerations are virtually the same, aren't they, Sarah? I think so. There's no real issue on that. I would say.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, David. I'm just going to bring Corinne in because she's put her hand up as you asked that question. So go ahead, Corinne.
Hi. Yeah, I think there is a difference in the policy regarding fast food premises and special stress, in that under the 2021 policy, I think it was just midnight and deliveries weren't an option, but you could potentially grant deliveries until 2 a.m, which I know is not what they're asking, but I'm just planting the seed now.
That's a fair point.
That's the main difference, I suppose.
That's the difference. I know that council will be here to say that they still want walk-ins, but if the committee were minded that they would allow the extension in time, but not only for deliveries, that wasn't permissible, or it wasn't expected as part of the matrix under the old. I just wanted to raise.
Okay, thanks.
I mean,
my understanding.
Could we reach an agreement that we apply the new policy? I mean, would that be sensible?
Yes, I'm happy for that, and I won't raise any point on it. I just flagged it because I felt that I had a duty to at least do that, and I'm not challenging it. I'm happy for it, because I would argue that the old one has expired and not relevant to today. I'd rather use that information. I think it's academic, because I'm going to ask for walk-in for the obvious reasons, and this is an exception. We're giving away alcohol and all those things that you will hear from me shortly.
Thank you, David. Thanks, Rebecca, and thanks, Corinne. I'll have to go back to my sheet, sorry, as I was listening to that and I've lost track of where I am. Okay, so I've offered the panel an opportunity to ask Sarah any questions, and only Alison responded, and that led to that conversation. So now I think it falls to me to ask Hannah if she'd like to ask Sarah any questions.
No, thank you, Chair.
And Corinne, are you here representing licensing? Sorry.
Yes, so my colleague Emma Grant put in the licensing representation.
Okay. Would you like an opportunity to ask Sarah any questions?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Corinne. So that brings us on. Are there any questions from David? Do you have any questions for Sarah? No. Thank you, David. Sorry. So now I'll hand over to the responsible authority, starting with Hannah. If they'd like to make their representation, Hannah, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So as you have heard, this is a proposed licence variation application in an area of the city which is subject to a special policy adopted by Brighton and Hove City Council. The premises lies in the special stress area, also known as the SSA, as defined within that policy. But recent incident and crime statistics indicate that during the period from the 1st of December 2024 to the 1st of December 2025, there were 639 crimes linked to York Place and surrounding side roads. The majority of these incidents were recorded as thefts, where there was 331 that were recorded. However, there were also 113 violent crimes. With the area already experiencing a high number of incidents and crimes, which occur mostly throughout the day, with only 65 crimes occurring between the hours of 2300 to 0200, permitting a premises to be open into the nighttime economy is likely to increase incidents in the locality, which is located close to the Level and London Road. The crime statistics, if expanded to include some of London Road, the Level, and Downground Parade, jumped to a concerning 2,388, with 1,054 being recorded as thefts, but there was a jump to 584 recorded crimes of violence against the person. This area is populated then with many licensed premises, all varying from pubs, bars, restaurants, and late night refreshment venues. While Sussex Police acknowledge that the premises application is not asking for the sale of alcohol and in fact removing this licensable activity, by offering food and drink into the early hours encourages persons who may be under the influence of alcohol or drugs to remain in the area, which has a number of residential flats and properties. This increases the risk of crime and disorder, antisocial behaviour and public nuisance in an area that I've already evidenced to be problematic. This is supported by the new Brighton and Hove City Council Statement of Licensing Policy, which in paragraph 3.3.2, however, just to cover myself, if we're looking at the old policy, it was paragraph 3.2.2, the special stress area is a concern to the licensing authority because of the relatively high levels of crime and disorder and nuisance experienced within it, and this area will be kept under review. On page 25 of the new Statement of Licensing Policy, the matrix for late night takeaway states until midnight with 2 a.m. for deliveries, and this premises already operates with a midnight licence. However, if again we're referring to the old policy, this matrix is on page 18 and only refers late night refreshment until midnight. Moving on, the applicant had not pre-consulted with the police before this application was submitted and offers in section M of the application under as per current licence conditions, which largely links to the sale of alcohol. No conditions have been offered to control and safeguard the premises, their customers and the public should this application be granted and be inclusive of deliveries until 2 a.m. If the applicant, it is for the applicant to demonstrate that they have no negative impact on the surrounding area. If they are unable to do this, then the application should be refused as per local policy guidance. Please note, Sussex Police do not have any representation against the removal of the licensable activity, the retail of sale of alcohol. But currently, we do not believe the applicant has gone far enough to evidence why their application should be an exception to the policy for late night refreshment and how it mitigates the risk of opening until 2 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. I must add, since the letter of representation was submitted, the applicant's representative has emailed to inform us that the conditions proposed by Sussex Police were agreed to. But Sussex Police invite the licensing authority to seriously consider this application, and in light of the police concerns, the extremely high numbers of crime and incidents, and the local authority special policy, we ask that should the panel be minded granting this application, that it is granted with the full proposed conditions, or granted in part that the alcohol is removed, but the late night refreshment hours are refused in order to protect the location from potential increases in incidents. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Do the panel have any questions for Hannah? I see you do. Ivan, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, just one question to Hannah. So you've given quite a lot of stats in terms of the crimes and the incidences around the area. Do we have any figures as to how many restaurants or establishments are open post midnight on Friday to Saturday in that parade in that particular area?
I'd need to pass you over to the licensing authority. I haven't brought those figures in with me. However, it depends on what statistics you're asking for, because obviously I've read two lot of statistics. So around the York Place, where you had the 636, I believe there's no late night in that area. However, if we're looking at the expanded area that goes up towards London Road, down Grand Parade, and sort of covers more of the level, then the numbers of licensed premises are higher in that area. Would you agree, Sarah?
Sorry. Yes, I believe I would agree with that. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah, and thanks, Hannah. Any further questions for Hannah from the panel? Go ahead, Alison.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Hannah. That is interesting. So, I mean, if this is, I don't know whether. I mean, you've come up with, an awful lot of conditions, for the applicant. I don't know what your feeling is about having, an outlier, as it were, which is obviously what this applicant would be if they were going to have the, the additional hours on a Friday and Saturday. What are your feelings about that? I mean, if it's a single unit, if it was joining a pack, I'm just trying to work out the rationale, really. I know that we take obviously each application on its own merits, but if there were already a dozen of them, would that therefore make it more acceptable, less acceptable? I suppose there's yes, go ahead, sorry.
No, I sort of understand what you're trying to say, and it's sort of a difficult one, because in sort of my opinion with the policing, to put a premises with a later night license that would draw people to it in an area where there isn't very many premises, and as I've said, there was only 65 crimes that were between those hours. In my opinion, it would draw people into that area, and we would potentially see an increase in that. However, on the other hand, if we've got an area that's saturated with the premises, again, I would be encouraging that we don't need to add any further premises in this area, because that would also be a cause of concern, because we would see the congregation, we'd see the congregation on the streets. So in my mind, it's now for the applicant and his representative to put forward of how they're going to safeguard and mitigate this risk, how they're going to protect an area that doesn't have many late night premises in their area, and how they're going to look after this area to ensure that no crime increases, how they're going to look after their customers, their staff, and the members of public and residents that live around. We've sort of got experience of premises before that have applied, and I think that's worth taking consideration where they've sort of been alone premises. But I do think it is now all over to the applicant to put in how they're going to protect against the current crime statistics that I've given to you. Because at the minute, you know, the application was sort of very sparse on what was offered. You know, I've put forward potentially what Sussex Police would like to see. But again, that's just a guidance for you. At the minute, I'm unconfident and I'm not potentially happy with what I've sort of read, which is why my final statement was, you know, I'm more than happy to agree the removal of alcohol, but the late night hours concern me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that question, Alison. Corinne, do you have any questions for Hannah?
No, thank you, Chair.
David, do you have any questions for Hannah? Please go ahead.
Yes, please. Officer, does the City Kebab ring a bell to you? I think that's within the same parade, and I think looking online, it looks like that has a 2 o'clock license.
You may well be right. Unfortunately, I look after 1,500 premises. I
Yes.
can't recall
Okay.
their
No,
names and
that's
all
fine.
their locations in one go. I'm very sorry.
But I think it's fair to say there are a number of late night refreshment throughout the city opening
absolutely.
at various hours, and I think Domino Pizza's to 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. Can I ask this? You've kindly provided the figures for the sort of the area, the location, the 65 incidents for the year, or December to December. Can you tell me, does that take away any report of crime from a domestic dwelling? Because I'm conscious that does that crime statistic relate to licensed premises or on the street, or can it be that it includes a flat or a house within that area? So I just want to understand, does that 65 include, for example, domestic violence?
So the 65 is crimes that have been reported into police where there has been a police response to it. So it's not necessarily all licensed premises. It could be in public, it could be on the street, it could be a domestic dwelling, it could be a licensed premises. It's just showing the panel that at that time in that location between 11 o'clock and 2 a.m. there have been 65 police calls to that area, which police have responded to and we've had to resource.
And the flag for it is not necessarily alcohol related or food related. It's just a call in that area.
Correct. Which the 65, I haven't got the broken down statistics for between those hours.
I'm curious. I'm sure members will be curious. What is the number between midnight and 2 o'clock, rather than, because we're already open to midnight, what that number would be?
So between midnight and 2, bear with me while I do my maths because it's broken down by hour. I've got it here in front of me. So if we take out from 11 o'clock, we're looking at 41 incidents, 41 crimes, calls to police between midnight and 2. So we lose.
Yeah, that's fine. So, may I ask this? So, with the myriad of conditions, and there are lots of conditions that you've asked for and we've agreed to, do you accept that having a SA door supervisor obviously gives some level of comfort to you that, we'll be able to manage those in and out and be able to be on the radio link and be able to manage those coming in and out?
It goes some way to safeguarding, yes. I would just need the confidence that yourself and your client have put in some research into costs, companies, local companies, who they're using. Would it be a regular member of SIA that they would be using to ensure that the right person is able to do the correct job and safeguard, as I said, the staff, the customers and the members of the public between that time. Without that information, it's sort of hard to comment because I wouldn't want any Joe Bloggs sort of stood at the front of the shop.
And lastly, can I ask, have you provided any figures? Have you got any figures for, say, City Kebab or us or any other pizza establishment of what their normal, our pizza premises a problem in the early hours of the morning? Do you have any statistics or anything that you can share with us about that? Like Domino's, they're open till 1.
I haven't broken it down to that. I've just literally provided the statistics of police calls and crimes that were recorded to that area.
That's very. I'm very, very grateful for you answering my questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Hannah, for answering them. Ivan,
Thank you.
your hand went up.
Yeah, thanks for that. So just looking on the website, so mention of City Kebab, they're open to 2 o'clock each day, and they're at number 2 York Place. So I just wanted to ask, has there been, I know we're not talking about another applicant, but has there been any particular issues of antisocial behaviour outside that establishment?
Sorry to interrupt you, Ivan. Hannah, while Ivan was asking that question, Corinne's hand went up. Is it that you want to answer that question, Corinne?
Not that particular question. It was just to raise that those 2 premises do have those licenses, but they were granted in 2011, so they're quite historical licenses. I just wanted to put that context in. They weren't granted recently.
Thank you, Corinne. So I'll let Hannah answer that question from Ivan.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to go and research that. So if you you're happy that I pull up the systems, or if
yeah, can you? Because it's quite key. Because we were talking about the same parade here, and yeah, I think it's a fairly key point. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no problem.
Are you researching that now, Hannah?
I am.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry.
So I can confirm there has been a small number of incidences recorded that refer to I've clicked off the screen. Aggressives, common assaults, assault ABH, and a disturbance.
Would you mind putting a number on the small part of that, please, Hannah?
4.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what I've got for those dates.
Thank you.
Sorry,
David,
Hannah, sorry, that's 4 incidences over which dates?
The 1st of December to the 1st of December. That match in with the statistics that I gave.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks, Hannah. David, did you put your hand up there?
No, I was just going to ask for the date range, but we've answered that. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Sorry, I only work within those years.
No worries, Hannah. Thank you. Alison, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. Just while Hannah was looking that up, I was just looking at City Kebab. I mean, if you go on to Uber Eats, they stop orders at 11, I think. 11 or midnight. It's a bit confusing.
Okay, thanks, Alison.
Anyone got any further intel? I mean, Google says that they're open until 2, but anyway, I thought I'd just throw that in.
Uber Eats are their own entity, aren't they? It might just be that they stop working with that company at that time.
Oh, got you. I'm not a big takeaway delivery order person. Okay.
I am. Cool. Thank you, Alison. So thank you for that, Hannah, and thanks for answering the questions. I think we go to Corinne now, who makes representation on behalf of the Licensing Authority Committee.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody, again. As I mentioned earlier, my colleague Emma Grant submitted the representation on behalf of the licensing team, but is unable to attend the hearing today. Their representation on behalf of the Licensing Authority can be found on pages 47 and 48 of today's agenda. As you have heard, the variation proposal is to extend the provision of late night refreshments and opening hours on Fridays and Saturdays until 2 a.m. and to remove the sale of alcohol. The current premises licence permits late night refreshment every day of the week until 12 midnight. The licensing team, in its role as a responsible authority, has concerns about this application, and therefore this representation was submitted on the grounds of the prevention of crime and disorder, the prevention of public nuisance, and having regard to the Council's statement of licensing policy. These premises are situated on York Place, which falls within the Licensing Authority's special stress area, which is already deemed an area of special concern in terms of the relatively high levels of crime and disorder and public nuisance within it. This department also received 2 complaints about Tops Pizza in the summer of 2025. These complaints related to allegedly opening beyond their permitted hours, 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday, and 1 a.m. during the week when the permitted hours were midnight, as well as receiving food hygiene and noise issue complaints. The premises were contacted and we were informed by their agent that they had been advised to stop trading to those hours and comply with the terms of their existing licence. As Sarah explained earlier, the Council's statement of licensing policy includes a matrix approach for licensing decisions. In Emma's representation, it was noted that the applicant hadn't indicated whether late night refreshment would be for deliveries only after a certain time or walk-ins as well. The applicant's agent has since confirmed that the extended hours are for walk-in customers as well as for deliveries. This is contrary to the matrix, which states that fast food premises in the special stress area would be acceptable until midnight, which these premises are already licensed to, with deliveries only until 2 a.m. Or if we are using the old policy, there would be no deliveries after midnight. Guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act states that in completing an operating schedule, applicants are expected to have regard to the statement of licensing policy for their area. The guidance goes on to say that applicants are expected to include positive proposals in their application and how they will manage any potential risks, and where there are specific policies in place, for example, in this application, the special stress area and a matrix approach to decision making, that they would demonstrate an understanding of how the policy impacts on their application and any measures they will take to mitigate that impact. On looking at the application form, the applicant didn't propose any additional measures to promote the licensing objectives. In fact, the applicant was asking to remove alcohol sales, but had not asked to remove any of the conditions on the existing licence. The existing licence has a high number of conditions on, a lot of which relate specifically to alcohol sales. So I'd like, as I think Councillor Thompson mentioned earlier, clarification as to whether which conditions are being removed, and if any are being sort of duplicated, are they going to be removed? I think just further clarification on which conditions will be remaining, please. It is the licensing team's opinion that granting this application is likely to add to the additional burdens and problems in the special stress area. This representation was made as the application is contrary to our policy, and therefore I invite the panel to carefully scrutinise the application and determine the final outcome. Many thanks.
Thank you, Karim. Do the panel have any questions for Karim? Go ahead, Alison.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Corinne. I just wanted to ask about you'd mentioned that there were a couple of incidents in the summer. What sort of normal policy? I mean, it seems that, obviously these were complaints, but it was never followed up with any visits. And then the agent had informed the owner that they needed to, basically adhere to the license. Would we not want to follow up with visits? So it's
yes, we did follow. Myself and my colleague, as part of these premises, are on the pre-Pride route. So in July,
Yes.
myself and my colleague went along. This was going to be a question I was going to raise after the applicant, actually, because when we were there. So I'll mention it now, but they can pick it up. One of the conditions I see that they've agreed with the Environmental Protection team is regarding this residents hotline. When my colleague and I went along, again, as part of what they were going to be doing for Pride, but also to discuss these complaints that we'd received, the person who was working at the time didn't have very good command of English, and so phoned his boss, and my colleague spoke to the boss and explained, and he said no, they weren't sort of trading beyond those hours anymore. But it raised, and I don't think we've had any allegations since then, I think that is the case, that they did stop trading, but it just raised concerns to me as to how that residential hotline is going to be operated. Is it going to be dealt with by somebody at the premises? Will it go through to somebody at head office?
I mean, that's
those things I was going to raise
as
as questions.
I didn't see this. I didn't see the bit about the residents hotline. But yeah, maybe when the applicant comes, we can ask them the questions. But as far as you're concerned,
to go back to the original one, we did go and visit the premises.
Okay, and you were happy that they had, that it was an oversight.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. Thank you, Alison. Hannah, do you have any questions for Corinne?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Hannah. David, do you have any questions or comments for what Corinne?
No, not at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Corinne. So I believe that takes us now to David, if you'd like to make a representation on behalf of the applicant.
Yes, thank you. So good morning again. The application is for, as we all know, the late night refreshment. We understand that even with either policy that it's in a stress area. We acknowledge that. However, any decision must be merit based, and that policy is a guide, not rigid. As I say, it's not tram lines. Obviously, we know we have to promote the licensing objectives, and we can satisfy you. We will, and we do. Then I ask that you grant the application. And obviously, each application is on its own merits. In relation to the position regarding the alcohol, we are obviously part of the whole application is to remove that and the associated conditions with it. In essence, I think it would be very prudent just to remove the current conditions and substitute them with the conditions agreed with the police and environment health. That seems a very sensible and pragmatic approach. I do say that we have agreed with the police conditions and the licensing authority. I think it neutralises the risk or the perceived risk, and it's designed to accept those conditions. And thank you for Hannah taking the time to put those together. And the reason why I think that there were a lack of offering of those conditions, because this premises operator has about 85 premises, and I believe in excess of 70 of them operate to 2 o'clock. So, and they operate with no door supervisors. They operate safely, promote the licensing objectives, and the company has never been subject to a review through the entire estate. Here, we're offering a door supervisor so as to give additional comfort that we can manage the customer area. We don't anticipate any issues of crime disorder. Now, I know that the policy itself is not absolute, and you would need to look at each individual application on its own merits. We know that City Kebab is nearby, open to 2 o'clock, and we've heard that there's no more than 4 incidents in the whole year. We don't know the detail. We know that we've not had any matters reported to us, and we don't expect that there will be. I know that even on the crime statistics provided by Hannah this morning is that it's 3 matters a month, so less than 1 a week. But also, I'd ask you to be cautious about that, members, because there's no evidence that they are directly linked to a licensed premises or to a food-led premises or any premises. We're told that actually it's an area, and we know that violence against a person, generally 1/3 of those reports, generally, it's a generalisation, but it's a good generalisation, that 1/3 is normally domestic. So there will be reports to matters at home addresses. So the reality of it is it's even less. And when you start breaking it down, it may be that there's a report to one particular address through the year that takes, half a dozen of those. We don't know. But what we do know is that they're not linked to licensed premises at this moment. We have no stats for that. We are selling food. We believe that we manage our customers well in and out without any problems. We're not selling alcohol. We're removing alcohol. So actually, I think that is an exception. You think, well, actually, we're removing alcohol from a premises that was granted historically. We use our own drivers. So we manage the drivers that come and go. We don't use external drivers. That's my instructions, so quite clear on that. We believe that we can promote the licensing objectives, and that given the low crime figures in that area, given the conditions offered by the police, given the SA door supervisors, given that we're removing alcohol and agreeing to a robust set of conditions, we believe that this is an exception can be granted, and we are confident that we will promote the licensing objectives. We part of that conditions is about the radio, the communication, the door supervisors, and I think that gives you what you need. We do have a good working relationship with the police service and the council. We believe we do, and we always share information, and we are always open for discussion. We don't believe actually that we were trading beyond our hours. I've asked the director of that, but in any event, we've given the assurance that we wouldn't, and we would remind our staff that that's the case. In relation to hotline, it's normally the store and the head office, but we can direct that to where you want it to be directed, members, because we have a team that can answer that telephone wherever it's directed to. Staff are trained, and they have internal training and obviously the expectations. But as a whole estate, and having premises up and down the country, we know we can operate safely, provide the food without any issues arising of crime disorder. I would remind members, if you don't mind me doing that, there's a new provision within the guidance that I'd like to address you on. Bear with me, please, because I'm looking on the other screen. Under 1.17, obviously, you know that each application must be judged on its own merits. And there shouldn't be, in effect, quotas or anything like that. I think I've argued the reasons why it can be justified. There is an additional new step, which is 1.18, that says when making decisions, the licensing authority should have consideration for the need to promote growth and deliver economic benefits. We know that this will create additional employment and work because it's additional 2 hours. We have 3 members of staff. We know that hospitality is in a very difficult position at the moment, and it requires they need to, want to do additional hours to have additional income, and this application, if granted, will promote economic delivery, albeit a small amount, but it does, and it contributes. We haven't had any objections from any neighbours, and we haven't had any objections from environmental health. We believe we are neighbourly, and we do promote the licensing objectives, and I ask the application to be granted as amended with those additional conditions.
Thank you, David. Ivan, you have a question.
Can't hear you, I'm afraid.
Oh, sorry, Chair. Thanks for the representation, David. I've got a few points. Before I start, is the management team here today or the owners?
Yeah, I've got General Manager on the other screen.
Fine. Okay, so oh, brilliant. Okay, so I'll start off in terms of the management of the place. So my understanding is that this is obviously a chain of pizza restaurants. I presume it's run on a franchise basis, is it?
Some of them are, yes. Some of them are in-house. It's a mix, but it is a franchise model that they have to follow.
Okay, so the Brighton restaurant, is that a one-off franchise, or is it part of ownership of a smaller chain within the group?
I will ask that question. I think it's actually owned by the company itself. Yes, and it's been confirmed it's the company.
Okay,
it's not franchised.
So right, okay, so the person owning this restaurant, does he own any other restaurants within the group or the chain?
No, it's owned by the company. It's not a franchise.
It's owned by the company. It's owned by the company. Fine, okay. And when did this pizzeria open?
2002, I think.
Sorry,
no, sorry. No, 1 second. Sorry, 1 second, Chair. If you just bear with me. Yes, it was 2022. Sorry, I didn't want the clash of the two people speaking at once. 2022.
Okay, so it's been run by the same people since 2022. Yeah, okay. So I haven't I know the place, but apologies, I haven't been in there. My understanding is there any seating or any eating inside, or is it just takeaway and collection?
Predominantly take away. We have a little bit of seating, I understand, but there's just a few seats. But as I say, we predominantly it's come in, order and take. Mostly is takeaway.
It's mostly takeaway. Okay, but can people eat in-house?
Yep, they can. But we have a few seats. I mean, we can always restrict that if you think that we should, but I don't think it's necessary. We will have a door supervisor from 12 to closing.
Right, okay. And my last question at this particular moment. So obviously noting that you wish to remove the alcohol license, and I'm sure that would be fine. Just purely out of interest, why?
Well, I think we don't. That's not a main part of our business, but also we thought that might be showing it's an exception to the policy to also give that away to try to get that. So it's a bit of a quid pro quo, if I can put it that way.
Okay, so are you intending to apply for a license in
No.
the future if we're minded to grant to remove the license at this particular moment?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. And sorry, I just I got one final question. So in terms of after midnight, you're looking at deliveries only or not collection?
No collection. We're asking people to come in and collect and to deliver. So the normal service that we would
So-
do.
So you want collection and deliveries post midnight?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not a big flow. I'm being told it would be a fairly steady flow. It's not. We're not like any hospitality business. It's just pizza. It's not a high impact footfall. It's steady, and I don't think there will be a. That's why I asked the question of the police officer about. There are plenty other establishments open within the city that are open later. No one's going to walk past all them to come to us. There's not going to be that migration. And we sell good pizzas, and people come to us for the pizza, and we think that we can continue to do that normal trade, our business, and we do it across at least 70 sites in the UK.
Okay. Fine. Thank you. No further questions at this moment.
Thank you, Ivan, and thank you for
Chair.
answering those questions, David. Alison, go ahead. Oh, sorry. I'm assuming you've got questions, Alison, and you're on mute.
I have got questions. Sorry, I just haven't put my hand up. I'm taking copious notes here so that I don't repeat questions from my colleague. Okay, David, thanks very much for all of this. I mean, it is all quite interesting, and there's obviously quite there's a lot of business going on down there, that is open later. I just want to ask a couple of things. I wanted to ask. It's a tiny thing and probably apropos of nothing, but the police made a point of saying that you hadn't consulted with them in advance of the application. Was there any particular reason for that? I know you've mentioned that the removal of alcohol was a sort of, as you say, a quid pro quo. I mean, was it just an oversight, or I don't know?
I think the licensing agent, because of their current operations, thought that it would be a fairly normal application, and
Okay,
so I
okay.
think it was just out of that, and it wasn't certainly out of any discourtesy.
Okay.
And certainly once the police made reps, there was before Christmas, I believe, albeit late, but before Christmas, a confirmation of accepting all the conditions.
Well, indeed, exactly. The fact that you've accepted all the conditions, I think, makes a big point. So yeah, that's great. Thank you. I wanted to ask. I'm quite intrigued. I mean, it's useful to know that this is an in-house business, because I think that does make a difference. And what's particularly interesting is that you're going to have your own delivery people, which I also think is quite interesting, because one of the issues that this, for this sort of 2-hour extension, is the issue of noise, right? So if you've got delivery drivers who are coming and going, the fact that they all work for you, you're affirming that you're not using anything like Uber or Deliveroo or any of that, Uber Eats or Deliveroo or any of those. Is that right? That they will all
I'm
be.
just, yes, and I'm going to ask them to affirm that. Can you affirm
Yeah.
we don't use any other driver?
Yeah.
Yes. So and in fact, I think it's really useful. I mean, we're very lucky that we do, they're all our own drivers. We
Yeah.
have full control. We don't have people waiting around parking irresponsible. We manage that, and that's why I believe that our neighbours have not objected, because we're good with our neighbours.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that does, yes, obviously there's a testament to that already. So yes, the fact that you can control the noise of deliveries, I think is definitely a plus. Yeah, you wouldn't consider just deliveries, would you? You definitely want collections for that. Yeah, okay.
Yes, please.
Also, I just wanted to ask about training. I know there's a little bit of a query as to which licensing policy we're using, but as you said that you were happy to go ahead with the new policy that came into force on Monday, I just wanted to check, because one of the police conditions is about training, and I just wanted to check that your company is familiar with our new policy on equalities and inclusion. And obviously making sure that you've got a fair, diverse and inclusive environment, so that would be part of the training. Is that something
Yes,
you could?
and also I'm actually going to have a further discussion afterwards, but they've got their own in-house.
Yeah.
We have a training package for ourselves, which is includes all that, and it's in any language. It's called Licensing Connect. So there's
Okay.
there's plenty of opportunity for all that, whichever way that they wish to do it. You should have a
Okay,
look
Okay,
online.
great. And you're also aware that in part of the policy, obviously, we're quoting the Equalities Act and protected characteristics and that sort of thing. As long as you're
absolutely.
familiar with it, that's great.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. I think that's all my questions. Let me just check. Don't want deliveries, training. That's lovely. Thanks very much indeed for your help.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you, David. If the panel have no further questions, I'll ask Hannah if she has any questions for David.
No, thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Hannah. Corinne, do you have any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, David. Again, I just wanted to raise that condition. You've said about the just the accountability of that email address, contact number. That would be for the panel to decide maybe how best that's going to be dealt with. But my experience when we were there was just one individual. That was only just during the day, and they seemed to have to deal with quite a lot. Obviously, the customers. I think they were doing the cooking as well. If this is an extra sort of thing of them having to do the hotline as well, it's just I don't see.
We're content. We're content for that to be the head office too. So it's fine. I mean, thankfully we don't have any representations from the public and no concerns directly. But I think the hotline's fine. To the head office, we're happy with that. And the head office is open 7 days a week. It's there because we've got the business which is trading predominantly over the weekend period. So someone's always in the head office, so it can have the hotline there. It's not a problem.
So my other question...
I'm being told they're not there on a Sunday, but all the other days.
Okay, great. And my other question was just if the panel are minded to grant after midnight, how many members of staff will be there? 3 members of staff. Is that including the security?
No, the security is separate, in addition to that.
In addition to 3. Okay, great. And when I, as I said earlier, when I visited the premises when we had the alleged complaint, we were sort of standing. If you look at Appendix B of the plan, my colleague and I were standing at the counter, and then somebody went to use the toilet. Will the toilets be sort of like open, because you have to sort of shimmy past the counter to get them? And I don't know whether. Obviously, you're seeking to remove alcohol, but you could well have some, intoxicated people coming. How are you going to prevent them sort of coming round into the preparation area and causing a scene there? Will the toilets close, or?
Yeah, normally there's no normally use of the toilet after there will be no after midnight. I mean, obviously, if someone is if someone is reasonable, sensible, double desperate, and we need to do our public duty, we obviously would have that discretion. But ordinarily, the toilets are not open.
Yeah, it's just a bit unfortunate where it's situated. You sort of have to go into the back of house almost, as far as I could see it, to reach it, sort of thing. So,
but if someone is caught or has a disability, or there may be other reasons that we obviously would exercise our discretion, but it's not a general open use.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Corinne. Thank you, David. So I think everybody who should have an opportunity to ask David a question has had one. So we will now move on to summaries. I'd just like to remind everybody at this point that there should be no introduction of any new information that hasn't already been part of a representation. So let's begin summaries with the licensing officer. So please take it away, Sarah.
Okay, thank you. So as you've heard, this is a hearing for a variation of the current licence for Tops Pizza, York Place, Brighton, to extend the hours for late night refreshment on a Friday and Saturday until 2 a.m. for walk-ins and deliveries. So, and to remove alcohol sales from the licence. And you have heard from all the parties present. Conditions have been discussed and agreed with Sussex Police and Environmental Health, and the removal of anything relating to alcohol sales. So licensing guidance states that in determining the application with a view to promoting the licensing objectives in the overall interests of the local community, the licensing authority must give appropriate weight to the steps that are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, the representations, including supporting information presented by all the parties, the guidance, and its own statement of licensing policy. It is important to note that each application will be given individual consideration on its own merits, and after considering all the relevant issues, the licensing authority may grant the application subject to certain conditions, and any conditions added to the licence to meet the licensing objectives should be clear, precise and enforceable. Alternatively, the licensing authority may refuse the application on the grounds that it is appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and against our statement of licensing policy. And it was agreed at the beginning of the hearing that we would you would make the decision for the application under the new policy that was granted on that was brought in on the 5th of January. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Hannah, would you like to begin your summary, please?
Thank you, Chair. Sussex Police invite the licensing authority to seriously consider this application, and in light of the police concerns an extremely high number of crimes and incidents, the local authority special policy, we ask that should the panel be minded granting this application, that it is granted with the full proposed conditions, or granted in part that alcohol is removed but the late night refreshment hours are refused in order to protect the location from the potential increase in incidents. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Corinne.
Thank you, Chair. The licensing team's representation was made on the grounds of the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime disorder and the prevention of public nuisance, and having regard to the council's statement of licensing policy, as these premises are situated within the special stress area, and the application is contrary to the statement of licensing policy's matrix approach. We therefore felt it was necessary to bring this application before the panel to scrutinise and determine the final outcome. Many thanks.
Thank you, Corinne. And David.
And thank you for members for the time. Obviously, you'll bear in mind that the licensing objectives are our main focus. If I can satisfy you, licensing objectives can be met, then license should be granted. I believe with the conditions set out and agreed but with the police and the licensing authority, we believe we can promote the licensing objectives. We operate countrywide. We operate to these hours without any cause of concern. Never had a review before. We know that there's another premises just a few doors away. We've only had 4 matters arising. We don't have the detail. Crime is fairly low in the immediate area, and I've given an explanation that we can't say directly where that relates to. But in any event, we don't believe that selling of our goods and services will undermine the licensing objectives of crime and disorder, and we will have an SIA door supervisor and agree to all the conditions of the police. In relation to public nuisance, we've had no representation from the public or environment health team. We've had no objections from local councillors or residents. We believe that we do promote and work with our neighbours well. We have control of our deliveries in and out. We don't use external drivers. So we do manage, and we manage our premises well to promote the licensing objectives. We are offering a quid pro quo on giving away and removing alcohol. That also has a factor. Taking in the round and totality and the conditions offered, we say this can be granted as an exception to your policy for the reasons I've already stated. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, David. And just before we adjourn, Rebecca, do you have anything to add?
No, Chair. I think it's all been said. As long as you've not got any questions of me.
Anyone?
No.
No, I think we're good. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, thank you, everybody. The panel will now retire to make its decision. Please note that we will be accompanied by the legal advisor and the clerk to the panel, but they will take no part in the decision-making process. The decision will be sent in within 5 working days, and appeal rights will be attached. Thank you, everybody, for attending. We're going to adjourn now and go and make a decision, but bye-bye.
Thank
Very
you.
much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.